bar that would show up on the camera itself.
And is that something that appears as you approach an object from either in front or behind or something else?
Correct. As you approach the object, the bar will, blink and will go get faster as you get closer to the object.
Now, with respect to the system overall, in addition to the visual cues depicted up on the screen, what, if any, auditory cues are also part of this system?
It will beep at you, and it will, as you get closer to the object, it will beep faster as you get closer to it.
And as far as getting closer to an object, the beeping that you're talking about, it increases in speed or rapidity, is that correct?
Correct.
And how does it, what, if anything, does it do as far as the volume of the beeping that you?
I guess it would increase as it would get faster.
So it gets faster and it gets louder as you get closer
Yep.
to an object, correct?
Yep.
Now, with respect to sort of the middle of the screen here, up on the dashboard, what, if anything, do you observe there? Could you direct the jury's attention to what, if any, devices are up there right now?
Yes. So that right here, this blue device, that's the V-Box Sport that attached to the windshield.
So that's something that you attach to the vehicle. It's not necessarily something that was in the vehicle when you began to operate it around.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 2618. And Trooper Paul, if you could describe to the jury, or using the laser pointer, if you could draw the jury's attention to what, if anything, is significant to observe in this portion or closer up image of the screen in the center console.
Yeah. So this this is one on the left here is the backup camera, and the one in the middle is the 360 overhead camera. The bars and lines are showing the path of the vehicle.
Okay. Ms. Gilman, you can take this down. I may have a moment, John.
Yes.
Now, Trooper Paul, as far as during this visibility analysis that you conducted, you testified earlier that you were primarily concerned with sort of whether or not the cameras and the auditory and visual cues worked properly with this vehicle and this system, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of your running these sort of forward and back reverse acceleration braking tests, as well as the visibility analysis, what, if anything, did you observe with relation to the functionality of the cameras and the visual and auditory cues?
Everything seemed to be working properly.
Now, when you were operating the vehicle on February 1st and you shifted the vehicle into reverse, what would then sort of occur with the screen in the center of the data?
It would change from the navigation to the backup cameras.
And how long a period of time did that take, as far as you shifted from drive to reverse on a number of different occasions while you were conducting your test, correct?
Yes.
And so how long a period of time are we talking about between the time that you shift the vehicle from drive or another gear to reverse for those screens to then display both the rear backup camera and the 360 overhead view?
It's fairly instantaneous, fairly quick.
Now, at some point during the course of the visibility analysis specifically, what, if anything, did you place behind the vehicle during your visibility analysis?
It was like a punching bag dummy.
And where did you place that in relation to the vehicle?
Along the right rear.
And as far as that punching bag dummy was concerned, about how far up off the ground was the top of that?
I'm not exactly sure the exact height of it. Maybe my height or taller.
And with respect, your height, sir, how tall are you?
5'6".
So it was at least 5'6", if not taller. Is that correct?
Correct.
And with respect to that, placing it behind the vehicle, after it was placed behind the vehicle, at some point, were you inside of the vehicle?
Yes.
And when you were inside of the vehicle and that was outside of the vehicle, what, if any, visual observations were you able to make with respect to its placement and it's in the right rear passenger side of the vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct.
So what, if any, observations were you able to make with respect to that item or exemplar that was placed out there?
It would have been invisible in the cameras.
Now, with respect to the visibility analysis that was conducted with respect to that, let me ask you this first. When I say exemplar pedestrian, can you explain sort of what that term means and how it relates to a visibility analysis?
So an exemplar pedestrian is, just like you said, we used a punch bag dummy. It was something that we used in place of a pedestrian to act like a pedestrian.
Now, when that exemplar pedestrian was placed in the rear passenger side area of the vehicle, what, if any, obstructions did you observe as far as just from a visual perspective, sort of turning your head or looking, or cameras or anything else, as far as where that exemplar was placed?
There were no obstructions.
Now, if that exemplar was placed directly next to the vehicle versus feet away from the vehicle, what, if any, difference did you note as far as the visibility was concerned?
Yeah, so if it was placed right next to the vehicle, it'd be blocked by the back pillar of the vehicle. If you place it like 5 feet away, you would be able to see the dummy in the cameras and also in the side mirrors.
So at a distance of at least 5 feet, it was fully visible from where you sat in the vehicle?
Yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if we could, I would ask, and I'm sorry, I'm not sure what exhibit numbers they are, but the 2 videos that were just introduced.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have the exterior video first.
Just for the record, they are 604 and 605. Thanks.
Thank you, Madam. Gilman, if you could pause there for a moment. Mr. Paul, with respect to, just for orientation purposes, if you could explain to the jury sort of where we are in relation to the Canton Police Department and where it was that you conducted these tests.
Yeah, so this is a view from the back of the Canton Police Department. So as you look at the Canton Police Department, we'd be on the left side of the Canton Police Department.
And as far as the vehicle in question, if you could, using the laser pointer, just direct your attention to where that is and sort of where it's going to be in relation to the camera angle.
The vehicle is right here.
Ms. Gilman, if you could press it. If I could ask you to pause there for just a moment. Trooper Paul, during these testing that you were conducting here with the acceleration, reverse braking, all of those things, the highest speed that you recorded during the course of that testing was 30 miles an hour, is that correct?
Yes.
And the highest speed that was contained within that VCH data for the second, or the B of those 2 data sets, What was the highest miles per hour there?
At 24.
Now, with respect to the braking in this vehicle, what, if anything, was this vehicle equipped with?
Had ABS brakes, anti-lock brake system.
And with relation to anti-lock brake system or ABS, what, if any, relationship does that have with regard to braking and what is then visible on the pavement?
It doesn't leave visible tire marks.
And why is that so?
Due to when the brakes, as the brake is about to lock up, it transfers over to another tire. So it kind of rotates between tires. So the tires never fully lock up and slide across the pavement.
Now, in relation to ABS not leaving marks on the pavement, what, if any, relationship does that have as far as the sound difference between ABS brakes and non-ABS brakes?
Yeah, sound would be different because you would hear a car sliding across the pavement as opposed to just hard braking and engine slowing down.
As far as sort of screeching of braking and tire coming to a brake, what would you expect to hear with respect to ABS braking?
There would be no screeching of the tires.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could press play from here. Thank you. Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish the other video of the interior of the vehicle?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just pause it briefly. Again, Jospeh Paul, with reference to what's up on the screen, if you could, just using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to the screen in the center of the dashboard, and just as far as what different parts of the screen are visible here.
So right here is the reverse camera, 360 camera.
And as far as this particular portion of the interior of the vehicle, are we looking at what was done with regard to acceleration or braking tests, or are we looking at the visibility now?
This is the visibility analysis.
Ms. Gilman, if you could please press. to ask you to just bring it back just a couple of seconds. Super Paul, as far as this is a closer up image of the screen that was visible in the center of the dash of the vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, this may be a little difficult to see. If you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, you observe on this screen while the vehicle's in reverse now, correct?
Correct.
If you could direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, you observe on this screen as the vehicle's in reverse with the exemplar pedestrian behind.
Yes. So this screen has now changed to a park assist screen, and it now shows a sensor for the back of the vehicle. And also same here, the sensor starts popping up in a yellow line further behind the vehicle.
And then in the actual camera view,
The actual camera view shows that's where our punching bag dummy was, and also shows where the sensor's backed up to on the bottom here.
and Ms. Gilman, for the record, this is about 34 seconds in. If you could press play from here. Now, Super Paul, at some point over the course of your investigation, over the course of this case, did you become aware of ring videos from Mr. O'Keefe's residence at 1 Meadows Avenue?
Yes.
And specifically, have you had occasion to see a video depicting the defendant backing out of the garage as snow was coming down?
Yes.
I'm going to allow it.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish to the jury with the witness on the stand, Exhibit 6, video number 153.
Objection, may we approach?
Yes. All right. So, I appreciate your patience.
You are unmuted.
A few things. So I'm going to send you home for the day because the lawyers and I are staying in Trooper. I'm going to ask you to stay. Sometimes when we take these breaks, when I talk to the lawyers and then don't schedule you, it's because we have to do things in the case to facilitate getting this case to you now as efficiently as possible. Next week, we will be in session here Monday. Tuesday is going to be a full day of the lawyers and I with witnesses to make sure that the case is ready for you to wrap up. So Tuesday you will be off, we'll be working. Wednesday is a federal holiday, so court is not in session on Wednesday. We'll have a full day Thursday and half a day Friday. It's a little different than we looked at, but I am assured that we are still on schedule to getting the case to you folks to begin your deliberations sometime that last week. Okay, so we appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate the lawyers now really trying to work to get this case to you as efficiently as possible. So those cautions. Do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. We will see you on Monday. Monday will be a full day. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
All rise for the court, please.
You are muted.
Here, follow me, please. Thank you. Be seated. Court continues.
All right. So, Trooper, we're going to have a voir dire of you, sir. Mr. Lally's going to ask you some questions. Mr. Jackson's going to ask you some questions. You'll be shown a video.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Now, Trooper Paul, as I was asking you before, with respect to, have you had occasion to see a ring video from Mr. O'Keefe's house on One Meadows Avenue depicting the defendant or the defendant's vehicle backing out of a garage while snow was falling?
Yes.
Now, in addition to that, as you've already testified to, you made observations of the defendant's vehicle in the Canton Police Department garage on February 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may we play the video at this time?
Yes.
Your Honor, to save time, I'll stipulate to the video.
I want to see it for purposes of this voir dire. And in fact, I'd like to see the version that the defendants have with the focusing in on the tire.
Understood.
Both. Go ahead, Ms. Gilman, you show yours, and then I'm going to ask for the defense.
153. Now, Trooper, from your observations from this video, at some point, this vehicle either comes close or makes contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, in addition to your observations of this video and your observations of the defendant's vehicle, at some point, have you also seen photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
Yes.
And is your understanding that those photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle were taken by State Police Crime Scene Services on February 3rd? Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with reference to your observations in this vehicle, what I'm going to ask you is in regard to the significance that you observe, significance of the impact between the two vehicles. In respect to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what, if anything, did you observe on his vehicle at that time?
At the photos are now.
Right now.
Oh, right now. There was snow on the vehicle.
And then with respect to the contact between the defendant's vehicle and victim, Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what, if anything, did you observe to occur with relation to the snow based on the significance of the impact between the two?
The snow doesn't move.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could press play.
All right. Can I see the other video? Please. Yes, I think it's on, I know it's in evidence, but I think it's on your computer, your hard drive. All right. Thank you. Okay, could you turn the lights on, please?
Your Honor, if I could, there's just two photographs that I'd like to.
Sure.
For purposes. Ms. Gilman, if I could have what's now been marked as Exhibit 549.
And before you do that, what is the exhibit we just saw through your IT person? What
Your Honor, it's
number?
the same exhibit. It has not been enhanced in any way. It was just magnified for purposes of this, of showing. In other words, the magnification is not embedded in the video. It's the
Okay.
same video.
Okay,
We just magnified it.
okay.
Here you go.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
And Trooper, do you recognize what's up on the screen now?
Yes.
And what are we looking at, and which area of the vehicle are we looking at?
It's the rear, sorry, John O'Keefe's car.
The driver's side, is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, relationship does this portion of the vehicle we're looking at here have in relation to the video that we just watched?
It was faced, well, kind of you see it
All right,
from.
what was the answer? I
It
didn't
was,
hear.
sorry, it was faced kind of the same way you see the back left rear corner of the vehicle as you do in this picture here.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have what's now been marked as Exhibit 559. And sir, is this the same driver's side rear of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle?
Yes, it is.
Now, as far as your observations of these photographs, what, if any, damage did you observe to Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle in either the last exhibit or this exhibit itself?
There was no damage.
Now, as far as the impact, let me ask, as far as the damage that you observed to the taillight area of the defendant's vehicle, what, if any, opinion do you have as to the amount of force necessary in order to cause that damage?
Objection.
You need a foundation on this.
So, Trooper, over the course of your, I'm sorry, how many crashes have you investigated over your time with the cars unit?
I've been primary on 196 crashes.
And I know I'd asked you before about pedestrian crashes. Fair to say most of the remainder, if not all the remainder, involves vehicles colliding with other vehicles.
Correct.
Now, with respect to that experience in relation to vehicle crashes, what, if any, training or knowledge do you have in regard to sort of physical forces of vehicles in a collision sequence, and what kind of damage you would anticipate?
So obviously the higher the speed, the more damage, the lower speed, the less damage.
And what, if any, from the observation that you made in that video and the observations that you made of the defendant's vehicle, what you observed in the video, is that consistent with the damage that you observed to the defendant's vehicle?
Objection.
So I'm going to allow this for voir dire. I just need to hear this information.
Understood, Your Honor. Thank you.
It is not consistent with the tail light in this collision.
And why not?
For one thing, the collision, the tail light is, what I say, 42 to 50 inches off the ground. So that vehicle would have to have damage 42 to 50 inches off the ground. because they would have had to contact each other in the same distance from the ground, and there's no damage to that vehicle. So if the taillight breaks, it should leave some sort of scratching, maybe a dent, something on some sort of damage to that vehicle should have occurred.
And with respect to, I think you just answered it. So as far as Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle, what kind of damage would you expect from an impact significant enough to break the plastic on the taillight of the defendant's vehicle?
It'd be probably a higher speed than what we saw.
For purposes of the voir dire, I need to hear all of this, Mr. Jackson. Go ahead.
A higher speed than what we probably would saw in there. If it's not, it was minimal, maybe it would crack a taillight or something like that, but it wouldn't. I mean, the damage is different. And also, you know, we have a bumper that's also in the way too.
And to that point, Trooper, when it comes to a bumper, from a functional standpoint, what is a bumper and what does it do with respect to a vehicle and a collision sequence?
The bumper is, you know, it's basically meant as another cushion to absorb the impact to another vehicle, from one vehicle to another vehicle. And it kind of sticks out to kind of also preserve whatever, you know, tail lights and everything else and the damage on top of it.
So in order, from your experience as far as responding and investigating collisions, specifically collisions between motor vehicles, the speed that you observed the defendant's vehicle traveling in that video, what, if any, relationship does that have, specifically as also as to the bumper, as to the damage that you observed to the defendant's vehicle?
So if you look at the defendant's vehicle, there is a scratch mark that is along the left side starts from her bumper around the rear. That could be consistently with his hitting his bumper. That would be around the same height level. He has a little ridge there on his bumper. So that bumper could have been hit that little ridge. And also the bumper in itself, and here is a different material. Hers is a little lighter, like a glossy colored paint. This is more a duller flat finish. So it might have why it would show up on her bumper more than it would show up on his bumper.
And finally, sir, in your opinion, the damage to the defendant's taillight is that something that could have occurred or could have been caused by the crash or the contact of the vehicles that you observed in that video?
Objection.
No.
So again, this is voir dire, Mr. Jackson, going in here.
No.
And again, sir, why not?
For one thing, the bumpers, you have to go push through the bumpers in order to hit the taillight against the other vehicle. And there's no damage to that, significant damage to a bumper in order to push back into the car.
And again, there was no snow on the vehicle. By that, I mean Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle that even came off the vehicle that you observed during the course of that contact between the two vehicles.
That's correct.
I have nothing further on.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever put the two cars together?
I did not.
No, you didn't, did you? You never tested whether or not the SUV would match up with the Traverse, did you?
What do you mean?
You just said, oh, look, one of them has matte finish, one of them has glossy finish, so it couldn't have happened, right?
No, I'm confused by the question. I'm talking about the tail light. We're talking about the tail light.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the tail light? Are we talking about the bumper?
Yeah, we were talking about the taillight.
So one person at a time, you both are talking over each
So
other.
You started talking about the bumpers.
Yes.
You said, well, one has matte finish and one has glossy finish, right?
Yes.
And you said, well, you'd expect one of them to slide off of each other, and they could have done this and they could have done that, right?
Not slide off each other.
You were suggesting that the two cars wouldn't match up such that the taillight could make contact with any part of the Traverse. That's what you were suggesting.
I'm saying it didn't match up because there's no damage to the Traverse.
You didn't test whether or not the lens, the right rear lens on the SUV could match up to any part of the Traverse, right? And make contact, physical contact with it, right?
When I see a picture of the Traverse,
Yes or no?
when I see the
You
picture
know,
of the
this
Traverse,
is a voir dire. I need the information, Mr.
you asked me a
Jackson.
question.
Yeah,
I said when
yes or no question, Trooper.
I don't think so, but
Mr. Jackson, just for, there's no jury here.
I
This
realize
is,
that.
this is for purposes of what I have to rule on. The more information I have, the better off I am in being able to rule on it.
Let me take a breath.
So this is you trying to keep the evidence out. So you want to give me the information.
Understood. Did you or did you not ever do a test where you backed the Lexus up against the traverse?
We did not.
Did you or did you not ever do a test where you put the two cars together and measured them?
No.
Did you ever measure the taillight of the SUV, the black SUV, against any area on that traverse?
No.
Did you ever do any force multiplier tests to determine the forces necessary to crack the SUV's convex taillight?
No.
Did you ever do any testing to determine whether or not a plastic taillight, under how much pressure a plastic taillight would need to be subjected before it would crack?
No.
Did you ever do any testing to determine whether or not if a plastic taillight came in contact with a metallic portion of another SUV, whether it would leave any mark?
Haven't done any testing. I've seen crashes where headlights have struck other vehicles. That's kind of where the experience comes from.
Fair enough. But I'm guessing that those crashes are probably different speeds and higher speeds. Not this, right?
I've had multiple crashes at different speeds.
So have you ever had
yes.
a crash where you've investigated, the Massachusetts State Police has been brought in to investigate a crash where the car was going in reverse at about a half a mile an hour?
Half a mile an hour?
Whatever that was.
Are you saying the SUV Lexus is going half a mile per hour?
Well, you're the reconstructionist. Give me an estimate of how fast you think that SUV was going at the point of contact with the traverse.
Maybe like 1-2 miles per hour?
Okay, fair enough. Have you ever been called in to a crash, to investigate a crash, where the cars have collided at 1 mile an hour?
I've had pedestrian crashes that have been at a very low speed.
Okay, that wasn't my question. That wasn't quite my question.
Okay.
My question is, have you been called in to a crash involving two vehicles
Yeah.
that have made contact at about 1 mile an hour?
I have seen testing for vehicles at low speeds. So next time I have been called to a crash, I go to fatality crashes, but I have seen testing for vehicles at low speed impacts,
Okay. How low speed?
like just the bump.
So like this?
Yes.
Did you see any damage?
Yes. All right. Well, minimal damage.
Right. In what circumstance? Minimal damage, like, I don't know, like a cracked taillight.
No, like just a little bit of rub off on the paint.
Right? Or you might see nothing, right?
Yes.
You've certainly seen circumstances in which two cars come in contact and there's absolutely no physical damage to either car, nothing observable, right?
Have I gone to
Sure.
crashes that have seen no physical damage on a car?
Or just in common sense, just everyday life, where one car backs into another car at the Jiffy Lube, makes contact and drives away, and there's no damage.
Not normally. It's usually something with car and car impacts.
Like, what's the something?
A crack or a paint, something chip, scratches.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you put a piece of metal in that scenario, if you put a piece of metal, steel, right,
Uh-huh.
against a piece of plastic, which one do you think is going to give way first?
You will still see some damage to both vehicles at a speed.
Which one would give way first?
Between metal, depends what speeds.
I'm
And what we're
you
talking about, you're just saying plastic and metal. You're giving a pretty general, broad plastic and metal
Jospeh Paul,
analysis here.
you admit, you got to agree with me, that there are circumstances in which low speed, very, very low speed contact between two cars can certainly leave damage on one and not damage on the other, damage on both, or no damage on either one. Observe.
Yes, I just said in that situation where the scratch on the side of her car
Right.
had a scratch mark and his doesn't appear to have anything.
And you said under questioning by Mr. Lally that certain circumstances like this could lead to a lens material, right, plastic material cracking, right?
Say again, like at least.
Just a few minutes ago, Mr. Lally.
I'm trying to answer your question. Sorry. Yes.
Mr. Lally asked you a question a few minutes ago, and you indicated that something might show up on a bumper. Something might, like a taillight, might actually crack, correct? In a low speed impact.
A taillight might crack in a low speed impact.
Correct.
Yeah, it might crack.
Okay, now, Mr. Lally also said you saw this video where the cars come close to or make contact, right? That's how he worded the question. Remember that?
Come close. Yep.
Which one Which one is it? Did it come close or did it make contact?
I said it might. I don't know if that scratch from the side is. It's something that's consistent with the height of the bumper. Like I said, I didn't measure them from side by side, but you can clearly see there's a scratch on the side, and that's something that looks like that would come back. So as I look at the bumper, and I see the bumper, and it has that little divot, and I look at her side of her car with that scratch mark, that kind of lines up a little bit of why that could be where that was from.
I thought you said there was no damage on that car, on the Traverse.
There is no damage, and that's why I went to why there's this two different paint materials there, that why one could have showed up on her car because it's that flat, the glossy paint on there, and it could have scratched on it. While you have something that's a little more rougher texture with like a flat, flat color on there
So
that
you-
wouldn't leave on there.
So you just described the circumstance in which two cars come in contact, you don't see any observable damage on one, and you do on the other. That's what
I
you
just, and I,
described, right?
yeah, I suggested that when you asked me that a second ago.
Yes. With regard to the video, let's get back to the question that I asked, which was, in that video, did the SUV come close to, or did it come in contact with the Traverse?
Again, I don't know, because I'm saying based off the damage that is something consistent with that. So most likely it did come in contact with the bumper to bumper, but I don't know definitively because there is no damage to his car, but it's something that could explain why there's a scratch mark alongside the right rear side of his car,
Did you
or her
see-
car.
Did you see the tire move, sir? Did you see the wheel on the Traverse move in that video?
No, I couldn't see the wheel move.
I beg your pardon?
I didn't see it move. I mean, if I did, I didn't observe it moving. If it moved, it moved. I didn't observe it moving. I wasn't looking at the wheel.
When was the first time you saw that video?
I don't really know. It's been a little while,
Well, I don't know what a little while means.
like a year ago, I think.
Okay. So you saw that video a year ago. Did you put anything about that video in your report, which is wherever it is, right here? I'm looking at your entire CARS report. Did you put anything in this CARS report about watching that video?
No, because I watched the video like after the report was done, and I watched it first time on court TV. So
So who on court TV during this trial?
like
Or prior hearing?
no, when it was on TV at some point.
When did you and Mr. Lally have a discussion about you testifying about this video?
That was a couple weeks ago?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
A couple of weeks ago?
What's a couple of weeks ago? Is it 10 days ago?
Days ago? 2 weeks ago? I mean, 2 weeks ago? Couple?
Okay.
Two?
Where did you two meet?
At the DA's office.
Was that at your request or was that at Mr. Lally's request?
It was a pre-conference hearing, or pre-trial hearing,
Right. Well, those
or
are
pre-trial conference. Sorry.
done.
So
We're talking over each other. I'm trying not to talk over each other.
I'm trying not either.
Let's both try harder.
Okay.
Who set up the meeting?
From my pre-trial.
Yes.
Okay.
Paul.
Adam Lally.
Who was at the meeting?
Everybody sitting right here. Lieutenant Tully.
Lieutenant Tully, you, Adam Lally, Laura McLaughlin. I'm guessing Miss Gilman was not there.
She was not there. Correct.
Did Mr. Lally show you this video at that meeting?
Yes.
Did he tell you that he intended to ask you some questions about this video at that meeting?
Yes.
Did he ask you whether or not you could render an opinion as to whether or not the impact that you saw or lack thereof, whatever the case may be, was consistent or inconsistent with damage to the tail light?
Yes.
Did you tell him that you would give him such opinion if called upon at trial?
Yes.
Did anybody take any notes?
I don't know.
Were you taking notes?
Yes.
Where are those notes, Trooper Paul?
I think I just, well, no, it's not on this specifically, but just, make sure I had, my everything checks and balance. And for what I want to talk about, what we're going to talk about.
Make sure you had
My
what?
checks and balances, sorry.
Checks and balances.
Just make sure I'm more on the same page of what we understand what's going on in the trial.
You want to make sure that you're on the same page with Mr. Lally about what's going on in trial.
Yes.
Did Mr. Lally take notes?
I have no idea.
You were watching him. I mean, was he writing something down?
I wasn't paying attention to his note taking.
Ms. McLaughlin was there. Was she taking notes?
I don't know.
You didn't see her either?
I don't know if there people were taking notes, writing stuff down, or what they're writing stuff down in relation to our conference.
Did you give him an opinion? We've asked whether or not you were asked to give an opinion, and you said, yes, 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 I was.
Yep.
Did you give an opinion at that meeting about whether or not you believe, in your opinion, the contact between the SUV and the Traverse, the Lexus and the Traverse, could result in the damage to the taillight?
Yes.
What did you tell him in the meeting?
What we talked about already in the stand here.
Okay. So what you related to him was exactly what you've relayed in this court.
Yes.
And he asked you, he told you that he was going to ask, I'm going to ask you to look at the video, correct?
Yes.
You're going to be asked a series of questions about that video, correct?
He told me the video and he said, okay, this is the video. This is what they think the taillight was broken. And these are the pictures of his car that they take. So they asked my opinion on, do you think that's where a taillight would be broken?
And he said, and he told you, you need to make sure that you tell the jurors that couldn't have happened in this impact, right?
He didn't tell me I'd make sure jurors, I mean, that's my opinion on, it doesn't appear to happen in that video.
Did he tell you that it would be helpful to the prosecution if you said that it would be, that it was inconsistent with the taillight break?
Objection.
I'm going to allow it. Did he tell you it would be helpful to the case if you said that?
No,
But you knew it would be, right?
I'm just stating what I saw on my professional opinion on what it is.
Got it.
If it looked like it was consistent, I would say it's consistent. If it wasn't consistent, it's not consistent. I'm not going to.
I'm sure that's what you would say.
Okay, so comments are not appropriate for the jury. They're also not very good for me, Mr.
Understood.
Jackson.
Understood, Your Honor. Did you formalize your new opinion? Because this is a new opinion, right? You've never been asked this opinion before.
Yes.
Did you formalize this new opinion in any kind of report, or memorialize it in any way?
No.
Did Mr. Lally ask you to create a report of some sort that you could then turn over to the defense so that we would know that you have a new opinion that you're going to testify about?
No.
Did you save those notes that you took about making sure that you were on the same page as Mr. Lally?
Yeah, I saved mine.
Where are they?
They're my report.
They're in your report?
Yeah, as I was writing a report, I just kind of highlighted stuff that I want to make sure I memorize and remember my report.
Okay. I'm talking about notes specifically about this video, seeing this video and rendering a new opinion about this video.
No, I didn't have notes specifically about this video. I didn't write anything down saying I must do this on this video.
Did you write anything down about the new opinion that you had come up with related to this video?
No, I did not.
I'm just moving on.
Yep.
And your opinion ultimately that you imparted to Mr. Lally in that meeting was that the car did not move and the snow did not move, correct?
Correct.
I think that's all I have.
All right. Did you want to follow up at all, Mr. Lally?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. So, Trooper, you are all set for today. We will see you Monday morning.
Thank you.
Okay? All right. So you're moving to exclude this. I'll hear you, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, it's very clear that this is a blatant discovery violation. Commonwealth has at least the obligation to provide us with any new opinions that any expert is going to testify to on direct examination. They've known about this witness for not months, for a year, for a couple of years. They've known exactly what this witness has memorialized in his official report. They knew that the only thing that we had was the official report. They met with him 2 weeks ago. This has become a pattern of conduct by the Commonwealth. over and over and over. We're finding these witnesses getting on the stand, finding out that there's been a sort of preemptive strike in some sort of a prep interview where they're coming up with new opinions, new conclusions, new facts. It happened with Jennifer McCabe. This new fact about coming up, going to Michael Lank's house. It happened with Officer Sarah, coming up with a new determination about what was said or not said at the scene that we had heard before. That was also a prep session of some sort, or I believe it was. And then this witness, literally, it's not even like just, was it light out or was it dark out? This is a completely new opinion based on evidence that we presented, both in open, or talked about in opening statement, and have presented variously throughout this trial. And this officer gets on the stand and now has a new central opinion about whether or not we're right and that taillight lens could be cracked. That's something that should have at least been reduced to writing. And even if it was reduced to writing, it should have been excluded because it's a discovery violation. It's late. We don't have time to prepare for it, and we're caught off guard. I use the word at sidebar ambush, and I know that rankles the court, and the court doesn't like it, but that's exactly what it feels like.
Well, that's been used both ways here, right? So it's a word, let's just take it out of here, make your point, okay?
I'll see if I can come up with a synonym for it.
Well,
I feel like
I
I'm
understand
taking-
I understand your argument, so focus on, just continue where you were, but no comment whether I like ambush or don't like ambush. It's a word I've heard a lot on both sides.
I understand, Your Honor. My point is the evidence that now is being sought should never be presented in front of you. We didn't have opportunity to get this in advance. This has, it's at least, very least, been in the Commonwealth's possession for weeks. He took notes about it. He now says, well, I didn't take notes about that specifically. I don't believe that as far as I can throw him. I think he did take notes about it. He was shown the video. He provided a new opinion. Mr. Lally knew that he was providing a new opinion. And then the first time he discloses this opinion is in front of the 16 jurors, 15 jurors. We would ask for its exclusion, Your Honor. And I'll submit.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Yes, Your Honor. As far as the pattern, especially coming from counsel, I simply find it laughable. As far as Officer Sarif, I think what counsel is referring to was testimony that was in his grand jury testimony. It was crossed about whether or not it was in his report, but it was in his grand jury testimony. As far as Ms. McCabe is concerned, that was regarding reciprocal discovery that was given to the Commonwealth weeks into trial by the defendant. It was then shown to a witness, which is perfectly permissible. Counsel asked a question of Ms. McCabe on cross, and she was aware of the material based on the late disclosure of reciprocal discovery. So there's no violation there. As it relates to, and why I say laughable, Your Honor, is that I am still...
I don't like hearing you say laughable. Just
Understood.
stick to what the arguments are. And
With respect to this witness...
Hold on. Quit the finger pointing, name calling, things like that, please. I
Yes.
know it's been a long week. It's been a particularly long day, but just focus on what you want to argue to me.
And I apologize to the court for that, Your Honor. With respect to this testimony, it's well within his realm as a crash reconstructionist. This is a witness who's responded to and investigated hundreds of crashes involving damage to vehicles. Simply making an observation of contact between two vehicles or purported contact between two vehicles on a video. The force is self-evident, and whether or not that force is sufficient to cause the damage that he personally observed on the defendant's vehicle is well within his expertise, and should be permissible as far as for this witness to be able to testify to.
What about the non-disclosure to the defense? Showing this video and asking for an opinion. What about that?
So, Your Honor, what I would say is I did not show this video and ask this opinion. This is a video that's actually the trooper mentioned to me that he had seen over the course of while the case was pending, probably over a year ago, that he had seen that video. What I showed him was the photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle and asked whether or not he observed any damage consistent with the damage to the taillight observing or popping up on Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle.
Why wasn't that turned over?
In hindsight, it should have been, Your Honor.
All right. So it's late. I'm not ruling here. I want to review everything. I would like, I'm not obviously taking any of the evidence home with me. I would like, if it's possible, for what your IT person did on the expanding, like he did this second time, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see the tire move this time.
It did.
So I'd like that. I'd like that video, and I would like, what's the exhibit number here?
It's Exhibit 6. Do you want just that video, Your Honor?
And the pictures of the cars, whatever was shown during this voir dire, I would like those emailed to me so that I can look at them this weekend while I'm deciding, or put them on a flash drive right now.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We'll do a screen record and get it to the court by email. We can do that. I just need an hour once we get back to home base.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gilman, will you burn what you have for me before we leave somehow?
Your Honor, if I could, I just want to close one loop.
Okay.
What I was referring to with Ms. McCabe, I want to make sure that this is clear because this has come up a couple of times. The only thing I was referring to, or what I was referring to, is not the only thing, but what I was referring to with Ms. McCabe is after Ms. McCabe testified, days and days and days after she testified and she was excused as a witness, then we got the report from Lieutenant Tully about the new information that she disclosed on the witness stand. In other words, she was cross-examined about it, etc. And then after she testified and was cross-examined and gone, then we got a report that predated her testimony that was in the possession of the Commonwealth, or at least in the possession of Lieutenant Tully. That's what I was talking about. I just want to make sure that that was clear. We don't need to go into it any further.
Did you want to add anything to that, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so I'll see you Monday morning.
Look, all rise.